Well, I thought it was about time that I commented on Pierre Poilievre's taking over as Conservative leader. I've reserved judgment. I did a video about a month ago on him, and I just had some further thoughts after having listened to some of his speeches now. Pierre, with all due respect, I appreciate you want to bring in fiscal policies that will benefit Canadians, such as lowering taxes. However, sir, without true freedom that allows its citizens to not only question power, but more importantly, put checks and balances on it, those tax cuts are meaningless. So far, I've not heard of reforming a system that currently allows the highest elected official in the land to trample over the rights of his or her citizens. This is not democracy. It's authoritarianism, an evil ideology that brave Canadian men and women have sacrificed blood, sweat, and tears for, sir. So far, I've not heard about an inquiry into possible injuries and or deaths as a result of the unconstitutional lockdowns and mandates over the past 2+ years. Policies which have deeply scarred our country by destroying families and friendships, raining psychological terror on the most vulnerable, as well as shuttering businesses across the country, not to mention adding additional record debt to an already crippling national debt load. So far, I've not heard you calling for a true, open, and democratic inquiry into the seizing of bank accounts of Canadian citizens, an inquiry that wouldn't simply be stacked with political sycophants of the PM, but those who profess a counterpoint of view to the PM's. Sir, I've not heard much about the violation and abuse of our beloved Charter, which is built on the precepts of the supremacy of God and the rule of law. So far, I've not heard any discussion of an inquiry into why doctors and nurses were threatened with professional ruin if they oppose the COVID-19 narrative in any way. Wouldn't it be good for Canadians to know who decided to put an end to the doctor-patient relationship? Putting decision-making when it comes to the health of Canadians in the hands of politicians and unelected public health officials? Up until now, I assumed that given you were in a leadership race, you had to be cautious. I'm not naive to think that politics isn't a lot like chess, and to win you must think a few moves ahead. You chose not to fully put all your cards on the table, but had rather decided that once you had firm grip on the party, that's when you would be making bold proclamations and policy announcements, which would put your stamp on the party. Well, sir, I think it's about time. There is no arguing, sir, that you've got style. Some would argue that our current PM has that as well, but what he lacks is integrity and substance. Unfortunately, both of these are not readily seen in men and women. It's only when they're tested under fire or are given ultimate power do we finally see these men and women for who they truly are. I would put forth, Pierre, that without a full-fledged democracy where both the citizen and their individual rights are respected, revered, and to be preserved at all costs by not only those that they have elected, but the judiciary across the land, tax cuts, sir, while they may mean something, will ring simply hollow. It's fine and dandy to have affordable housing, but if you have no individual autonomy over your body, thoughts, or words, what good is it truly? Once you've lost your freedom and given your body, parental rights, medical autonomy over to the government, what good is cheaper gas? If you cannot freely travel within your own country and are denied a livelihood because you disagree with an overreaching political and bureaucratic administrative state, does government spending really matter anymore? Sir, I would like to hear you talk about the Emergencies Act, which was imposed unjustly on its citizens and which allows the government to investigate itself of wrongdoing. Talk about the fox guarding the henhouse. Where are the calls for a citizen-led public inquiry into that? While we're at it, Pierre, I've yet to hear your calls for a citizen-led inquiry aimed at getting to the bottom of the science and constitutionality of the health policies of the last 2.5 years. As I stated above, maybe it was due to you not wanting to rock the boat and wait till you were leader. Well, sir, tag, you're it. I realize, Pierre, that you've got an enormous responsibility upon your shoulders. And from comments I've read, many Canadians are pinning their hopes and dreams on you. I would caution them not to do so. By doing so, they're making an idol of you, one which neither you nor anyone else can live up to. Ultimately, we all disappoint one another. I would rather encourage them to realize that this is their fight. There is no cavalry coming over the hill. They, as well as all of us, need to be a part of the solution and do our parts in preserving this great country. In closing, Pierre, for me, the jury is still out with respect to your leadership. It's too early to tell, and it would be intellectually dishonest to praise or punish you at this point. For the time being, I would classify myself as someone who loves Canada, and it's my sincere hope that you would take my words as constructive criticism, not simply criticism. Respectfully, a fellow Canadian. Anyway, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Please post any comments you have in the comment section. You can also follow me on my Rumble and my Locals account, and I will see you next time.